Hello there, you're watching WilhelMiniatures. This will be the fifth and final episode for Sculptober. The word is spark, and I couldn't really think of anything that fits with spark except something that's on fire, and I don't want to sculpt flames. Then Rebecca mentioned that I could instead just sculpt a dog or something and call it Sparky, but I'm not sculpting a dog, so here's Sparky the toad. I want the back legs to be close to the body, so I'm just putting down some sausages in different sizes and trying to shape out how the frog legs would be. I think I wanted to have a big round chest thing, or the throat that's kind of bulging out. I'm putting down some lumps to see where to place the eyes. It would be nice with a three-eyed frog, I think, to give it a little bit more detail. I'm using green stuff balls for eyes, which I've just made whenever I've had some leftover green stuff. It's very nice just to roll up your leftover sculpting putty. Alright, let's play around with some textures. So these are homemade sculpting tools, which are basically just blobs of green stuff that I've pushed the tip of a sculpting tool into, making all these little holes. And this one is like a stamp I made from a dried lotus flower. And yeah, how these can be used is that they can be rolled over a surface, leaving a nice pattern. And these are just different sizes. So I have this one with just small holes. It's nice for an even scaly texture. And the one I used here, which is different sizes, making this uneven pattern. And already in like 10 seconds of rolling these across the back, it looks more or less finished. I mean, this back piece here could definitely just be finished right now. And this large one is just a bigger hole, so that will just make a large texture. So I can just find some a nice structure on it, and if I just push it over the surface, I get these nice holes with like little part inside, which looks very toad-like, or I'm not sure if toads are full of holes, but it looks like a monster toad. And also here I tried rolling it across. I'm not going to use this as the final texture, but it's quite cool with several of these shapes as well. I'm not going to be able to sculpt hands and feet for this toad, as they just hang there in space. So what I need to do is to transfer this one onto another platform so that I will have a flat surface to work from. That's going to be much easier. And since Sculpey is not sticky and green stuff is very sticky, I'm going to put down some sticky green stuff first as a base and then put some clay over it. I wonder why I didn't secure it straight onto the cork board. This is going to annoy me. Anyway, it's secured and I think it looks good. So now I can start working on the feet without much problem. I baked a bunch of these clay worms to use as teeth and claws. So as this is a fantasy toad, maybe I can use them to give it some interesting fingernails. I shaped out some quick front legs or hands or flippers, swimmers. I don't know what frog. I don't know. Maybe it's too cartoonish with some teeth. Teeth are definitely a yes. The next word is crispy. So I want to sculpt crab claws or a crab claw. These crab claws are actually resin casts of real claws that I did a couple of years ago. when I was experimenting with casting organic materials. I've also casted bones and shells, which you might have seen if you followed my Instagram or any of the original miniatures I've done. However, these are so big that I've not really found a use for them. They're too big even to be used for great unclean ones. So what I will do today is to try to sculpt a smaller version. So here I've just made an armature with the foil, tape and the wire inside. And as always, the first thing to do is just to cover the thingamithing in clay. Do I want an open or closed claw? Open claw, closed claw, open claw. Open is probably cooler, so I'll start there. And yeah, now I do what I actually always think when I think a claw, that's that this is like the thumb section, but actually the part that's movable on a crab claw is actually supposed to be bigger than the lower part, so this is more like the thumb. Not that I'm trying to make like a perfect crab claw replica, I'm just trying to make a cool looking claw that I can use for a fantasy monster at some point, so yeah. But some things I want to be correct, so this is actually the top. I'm not going to make the entire limb, but I want to have like one more plate section so that it will be easier to blend into the creature if I ever add it to something. This is starting to look very crab claw-y, which is good. One thing that I should have planned is to make an armature for this loose part. If I were more adventurous, I could also just chop it off and sculpt it as a loose part, so when I cast it, it would be able to open and close. So I might do that, actually. Just remove this whole part and sculpt it on its own armature. Anyway, I will think about what to do with this part later, but I think the rest is starting to come together with the soft jointed part and the shape of the shell. So I'm not looking at like, I have this one as a reference, the one I showed you in the start, but of course I am exaggerating every piece, but it helps to have something to look at. For example, this piece of shell that sticks out here, I wouldn't have known that crab claws are like this if I hadn't looked at it, so yeah, it gave me this little thing which really breaks up the shell. Okay, this is really starting to turn into something, but I think I'm going to add some texture. And maybe I can use this crab claw to add crab claw texture. Might be too subtle. Is it in focus? Yeah, no, I can't really see the difference. Let's try out some homemade sculpting tools to make the texture. This one is just a blob of green stuff that I have pushed against some kind of root, which had a really interesting texture. So you can see there's a little bit of dirt on it still. What's nice with making sculpting tools or like texture tools from organic materials, especially like rocks or roots or like bark, is that you get a very random pattern. It will be more organic than if you make one yourself by, for example, how I did this one, which was just poking into the green stuff, which is much more even though I tried to make it organic. It will never be as organic as the one I make from an organic shape. Textures can also be very nice from, for example, shells or bones or something. It's always good to look for textures that you can use as stamps. It's not super visible, but that soft texture really makes a difference. I think this one turned out to be very crab-like. So yeah, that's it for crispy. The word is patch, so I think I'm just going to sculpt a face and give it an eye patch. I'm just going to shape out a vaguely human head shape with my fingers before I start using the tools. With this long nose it looks very witch-like, so maybe that's what it's going to be. Maybe a long and thin face. And the question is if I should give her one eye patch or just cover up the eyes altogether and give her two. I'll use some gray clay to add an eye patch just to have it in a different color. I don't think I want to make like a classic pirate looking eye patch. I think I'm just going to use wraps. Maybe this works. Okay, what I think I will do is just to lay down several strips going down from the top, and then eventually the witch will get a hat to cover this top part. So this will not be like a proper eye patch. Instead I'm just going to make some bandages. I added the hat thing and refined the face a little bit. I also cut the face kind of away and made the backside a little bit skull-like to make it extra creepy. Like the witch is wearing a face or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think this is what I have for patch. Of course I need to work on it a bit more, but I think I'll leave it aside for now and come back to it later. The word is Slither, and I want to make another snail monster. I'm really happy with the design on this one, so I think I want to make something similar. Although I think I want to make it a little bit smaller, as the other one turned out a bit big. I made a thick slithery snail shape, and now I'm going to add the shell, and I still want like a face on the shell, or like the shell turning into a head as I did on the other design, but I want to integrate it a little bit more, so I want the mouth to be the opening of the shell. So yeah, this shell will be less like a regular snail shell, because I'm going to have the opening kind of covering a bit of the sides of the snail for this to work, so it's not going to come out of this flat section, is going to go down a bit. I worked in a bit of a spiral shape on this side, which I will refine a bit more, but now I think I want to make the face portion. So the eyes would probably be, it's probably a little low, I'm not sure, because the mouth is going to be the transition between the shell and the snail. Maybe I need the forehead to be taller too. I don't know yet. I'm just going to put down some shapes and see where it takes me. Okay, it was impossible to make this look like a human face, so I'm going with the monster instead. So I'm adding a quick row of teeth through the entire underside of the shell. I enlarged the spiral side of the shell. I think it's still a little bit too protruding, so I need to blend it in a little bit. And yeah, I stretched the face, made the brow a little taller, but I still think it's a little too low, which is a problem because I can't really make it any taller because of the shell. So maybe I have to move the eyes a bit further down. Ooh, that was a bit creepy, with like very narrow, sad-looking eyes. That's fitting. I would be sad if I was a snail shell as well. So maybe this. I'm also going to add gums to every tooth around, but I'm sure I'm going to mess this up when I start texturing the body of the snail, because I'm going to touch it. So yeah, I'll do some of them and then probably refine them a bit later. So this is just the sketching stage, basically, where I just I'm not caring about fingerprints or tool marks right now. I'm just moving around on it and making it look interesting. Maybe some lines, some wrinkles that can turn into like a pattern on the shell. That would be nice. Yeah, and I think I need something here. I'm not sure what, because this whole part is it's a bit weird. On this one it works better because the shell is on top and not surrounding the snail. I think this one is much nicer, but this integrated design is going to be fun, but I need to figure out what to do around here. Maybe I can try to make this part smaller by maybe removing a part and then have it more asymmetrical. Yeah, I think I'll try to just remove this entire section. Yeah, I think this looks better. Now I removed the straight line teeth here just to make it a little bit more interesting. Then I should maybe remove the teeth back here as well, having it go all the way down there. But I kind of like that the teeth are just starting to stick out at some point. No, I think no. I'll remove these. Have this one the first tooth, like that maybe. Yes, this looks better. Then the teeth kind of start in the swirl, which is a good continuation of the shape, and it stops here after the mouth is kind of dragged. So then here I just need to have the body of the snail kind of go into the shell, maybe stretching a little bit. All right, I'm definitely going to play around with this one a lot more before I call it finished, but yeah, I have the basic shapes down, so I think that will be it for Slither. Happy Halloween, everyone! I'm dressed up as a vampire lord from Heroes of Might and Magic 3, if you couldn't tell by my hands. Or I'm actually a regular vampire because I couldn't find the amazing robes that they wear. But you don't see that, so you can just pretend that I'm wearing a big orange robe thing. It's the last day of Sculptober, the final day of the challenge, and the final word is risk. I've decided just to sculpt a jack-o'-lantern or a pumpkin for this one, and what makes this into risk is that I'm going to sculpt it while wearing these crazy fabulous nails, which makes everything very difficult. So to begin, I have this armature that's just a loop of wire with foil and some painter's tape on it. Oh man, to think that some people have long nails all the time is crazy. I mean, this is super difficult. Maybe I can even use the nails to sculpt. Nope, I can't. Oh, this is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. And also my armature isn't really sticking to the thing, so it's annoying. But I'll manage. I'm just using the back of a sculpting tool or the back of a brush to mark out like the pumpkin lines, which I guess they are called. What's nice with sculpting a pumpkin is that it can look really messed up, and it won't really matter because pumpkins often are a bit messed up. This is pumpkin-y, I guess. Just going to use one of my homemade sculpting tools to roughen up the surface a little bit. Get some organic textures in there. Try out some texture on the, what's it called? The green top thing? I'm not sure. This is so much more difficult than what I thought it was going to be. I guess it's practice, not using your fingertips as much as other finger parts. Alright, let's make this pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern. I mean, it's not symmetrical at all. This part is really bad. So I guess this will be the front, as is the most pumpkin-like. Ooh. Let's try to make this one a bit creepy and give it some more human-like teeth. I have sculpted a lot of teeth for this challenge and I really like it, so this one will get some, yeah, organic teeth too, monster teeth. Yeah, this is going to be a fun little sculpt. I'm doing textures in the hard to reach areas with the silicone tool just to have some lumps all over, as the starting shape is yeah, very lumpy, so I feel I need the texture to match. I don't know what more to do on this one, and working with these nails are terrible, so I think I'm going to call it done. The last sculpture for Sculptober 2021. I can't believe that I'm finished and that the final sculpture turned out to be a speed sculpt of a pumpkin, which took like 20 minutes. And with these 5 sculptures, we have reached the end of the episode, and actually also the end of Sculptober. I can't believe that I've just sculpted 31 sculptures in 31 days. I removed the movable part of the claw from this one, and I will add a little bit of green stuff in here to make a smooth kind of opening, so that the pieces will fit nicely. And then when I cast them, I can move the claw. So if I make several figures or if I sell it, people can use it for conversions and choose how open they want the claw to be. The toad too is quite nice. It still needs a little bit of work, but overall I like it. One thing that is a little bit of a shame is that Sculptober and Monster Bash Part 3